heart of the enchanted world of dolls, where every night the stars light up, something unexpected has happened. A brilliant star has fallen from the sky, leaving a trail behind it. Tootie, a curious, intelligent, and brave wooden doll who loves to explore her world, was the first to notice it. She was so amazed that she didn't even hear her mother calling her for breakfast. She just stared out of her window, watching the star fall slowly towards the ground. The next morning, Tootie couldn't wait to tell her best friends, Fifi and Sock, all about what she had seen the night before. As soon as they met up in their secret clubhouse, a hollowed-out tree stump, she began her tale. Meanwhile, deep in the enchanted dollhouse, the evil sorceress Morgana was gleefully rubbing her hands together. She had been waiting for this moment for a very long time. You see, every night when the magic stars twinkled above the dollhouse, Morgana's powers were limited. But now that one of the stars had fallen and the light was fading from the enchanted world, her powers were growing stronger by the second. Soon she would be unstoppable. Fifi, a soft, shy, but highly skilled puzzle-solving doll, appeared worried. If the star stays out of our world will turn into a shadow world without any happiness, she said. Sacker, a small but strong rock doll, was slower than the other two, but he was loyal and protective of his friends, so he didn't hesitate for a second. We must go and bring the star back, he said firmly. And so the three friends set off on their adventure. Their first challenge awaited them right outside the enchanted grove where they played. It was the jewelry forest. They had to cross it quickly if they wanted to bring back the star before it lost all of its shine. As far as they knew, this was the only way to get to the place where the star fell. The forest wasn't too hard to cross. They just had to be careful not to touch the branches of the sparkling trees, which were made of shiny chains and rings. If they did, the necklaces would bind their arms or legs and hold them fast. Tootie led the way, her keen mind helping her to plan their route and avoid the tricky branches. Fifi used her soft body to squeeze through tight spots, while Sakur protected them both, his sturdiness making him the perfect shield. Soon they reached the River of Pearls, a sparkling stream made of artificial pearls.
If they wanted to cross, they would have to step on the pearls.
But here's the catch. Each pearl could only hold the weight of one doll. I'm the smallest, so I'll go first, said Fifi, although her voice trembled a little from fear. No, I insist, said Tootie, but Fifi shook her head. You're braver than me, Tootie. You should go first. Before Tootie could say anything else, Fifi had already taken the first pearl and stepped onto it. Slowly but surely, she made her way across the river. When she reached the other side, she turned around and helped Sacker cross. Then, it was Tootie's turn. She stepped onto the first pearl and started moving towards the other side. But suddenly, just as she neared the end, one of the pearls cracked under her weight and Tootie fell into the water. Luckily, Fifi and Sacker were there to save her. Don't worry, we'll pull you out, said Saka, reaching out a hand. Together they got Tootie out of the water. I'm sorry I made you fall, Tootie said, feeling sad and guilty. It's all right, said Fifi. We have to try again. We don't have much time left. Once they were all dried off, they started across the river again. This time, Tootie and Sacker went together on the same pearl. Since they were heavier than Fifi, they had to make sure to move carefully. They made it to the other side without any problems, and soon they left the river behind them. The rest of the jewelry forest was easy to navigate, and pretty soon the three friends were standing before a giant hill made of shiny buttons. This was their last challenge. If they could climb to the top, they would be out of the forest and on their way to find the fallen star. At the bottom of the hill, there was a pile of acorns, and knowing that they would need some energy for the climb, the friends decided to eat them. But no sooner had they started eating than a family of chipmunks came running out of the bushes, chattering angrily. They wanted their acorns back. We're really sorry, said Tootie, but we really need the acorns to climb the button hill. We have to find the star before it loses all of its light. The chipmunks looked at each other and then nodded. All right, you can have the acorns, they said, but if we need them later, you have to give them back, right? Of course, said Tootie, and with renewed energy, the friends climbed the hill. As they climbed higher and higher, the air grew thinner and colder. At the top, they were greeted by a view that made them gasp in amazement. Before them stretched out a valley of sparkling jewels, rivers of gold and silver, mountains of precious stones, and forests of glittering diamonds. But none of this made the friends happy. The magnificent view reminded them of what they were risking. If the star lost all of its shine, the whole dollhouse would turn into a shadow world. They walked forward until they saw a cave in the distance. They hoped that the star had fallen in there. Carefully, they approached the cave, which turned out to be dark and made of old shoeboxers. "This is it," said Tootie, her voice echoing in the darkness. The star must be inside. Suddenly, they heard a faint, glimmering sound. It seemed to come from deep inside the cave. As they followed the sound, they finally saw it. There in the corner of the cave, sitting on a pile of pebbles, was the star. But instead of shining brightly, it was dim and lifeless. The friends were puzzled. How were they supposed to bring the star back to its former glory? Then Vivi's eyes suddenly lit up. She had an idea. She took the star in her hands and whispered something to her friends. Their eyes widened with surprise, then determination. Taking a deep breath, they began to carry out Vivi's plan. The cave was pitch black, and the only way out was to retrace their steps over the treacherous river of pearls. But the friends didn't care. They had something much more important to think about. As they made their way through the forest of jewelry, the light in the star began to grow brighter and brighter. At first, it was just a faint glimmer. Then it shone brightly, lighting up the path ahead of them. They soon reached the hill of buttons and began to climb down. The light coming from the star illuminated their faces with a magical glow. The sight was so beautiful that the chipmunks, who had been watching from the bushes, came out and cheered. "You did it!" they shouted.
The light is coming back to the enchanted dollhouse.
And indeed, as the friends reached the bottom of the hill, the entire enchanted dollhouse began to sparkle. First, the trees in the enchanted grove shimmered with new life. Then the flowers in the garden bloomed in a riot of colors. Finally, the stars in the night sky twinkled with renewed brilliance. From her tower, Morgana watched as the light returned to the enchanted dollhouse. Her evil plan had failed once again. With a furious stomp, she vowed to try again tomorrow night. But for now, she had to wait. Meanwhile, in the enchanted dollhouse, the friends were celebrated as heroes. All the dolls came out to greet them, their faces shining with joy. "You saved us," they cried. "You brought the light back to our world." Tootie blushed at the praise, but she knew that they hadn't done it alone. Each of them had played an important role. That night, as the friends sat together in their treehouse, they knew that their adventure was far from over. They had defeated Morgana once, but how many more times would she try to plunge the enchanted dollhouse into darkness? To be continued. In Tootie and the Shadow World.